like New York and other places where they have fine mass transit and that kind of stuff. Our state is also very massive. It would cost hundreds of billions of dollars to lay rail lines here. I don't know what y'all think about it, but it would be a daunting task to lay that across Texas.
We need to do what we did. They've done in California. That's been really successful. They spent billions. How many miles of rail have they laid? All right, go.
That's your boy Elon. That's your boy.
Wait, are you
know how we would transform them
make
cities?
a joke about the railway that's trying to go from Los Angeles to San Francisco, or the one that's going from LA to Vegas?
You talking about that hyperrail? That's Elon. Elon fucked that money up. Go get your.
I think that was Matt that said that. I think he left.
Yeah, that was Matt.
Do y'all understand how like
He know a motherfucking thing.
He went to go check
with those rails.
He went to go check Elon.
the rail line alone? Like, what I don't understand is if we build just high speed rail, one down the East Coast, one down the West Coast, one in the Texas corridor, if they could just get a contract to do that, do y'all know how much that would like probably cool the planet from just the one on the East Coast? How many flights run up and down from Miami to New York or Miami to Boston every day? And if you put a high-speed rail line like the ones they have in China or even the ones they have in Europe, like an electric one, how much like shit would change for us?
Yeah, and how much revenue the airlines would lose. That's why they keep killing it. And so
fuck that. Fuck that. I'm talking. Hold on. I'm talking about what it would do for the people, like health-wise. And see, this is the problem. Every time we start talking about people's health and well-being and quality of life, y'all bring it back to the money. And that's what's going to kill niggas. Is y'all always the airlines will lose mad money, but niggas will be able to breathe.
I'm gonna say one more thing. So Ashton is right that there is also landowner problems in between Dallas and Houston, and because we don't have eminent domain, we don't like to use it like you can in China and in some of these European countries. They can just take the land and
We
move them
do
here.
have eminent domain.
We do have it, but it's not the same here in Texas. I just tell you. The landowners here, especially the ranch. Yeah, they have a lot. They have significant power. They got significant power in the state legislature.
Don't say we don't have eminent domain.
Yeah, I should have said it more correctly. But Ashton, you're correct. The landowners also have significant power in the state legislature to kill things. And if we were China, where you could just take the land and say, hey, here's your $100,000 for your land. We're laying a track.
They
it makes
did
it a
do
lot
it. How
cheaper.
you think they built the highway system? They took them people land. They ain't give them no choice. They took their land. What you talking about? They can do it if the federal government can do it if they want.
Well, obviously, we don't have the wherewithal and the power to do it. Anyway, it's been good being with you guys tonight.
No, we don't have the
Giants You can't just be saying crazy
people
stuff.
out their homes to build a stadium, Trent. That's ridiculous.
In order for people to give up their homes, right.
Wait, what'd you say, Womack?
I said Jerry Jones. Whenever they built AT&T, they used that on portions of
Yeah, they did.
to get that stadium built. And that was simply for the Dallas fucking Cowboys. If they wanted to build a high-speed rail across Texas, they absolutely could pull the strings to make it happen. Like, it's just, let's just say what it is. Niggas don't want to do it. Just
They don't
want to do it. They don't lose revenue.
Don't be blaming the niggas.
I've been a huge proponent of
Jerry Jones, the biggest nigga around.
He is. But I've been a huge proponent of high-speed rail in Houston since like the mid 2000s. I was with Bill White when they first laid out the plan announcement. I'm a huge fan of high-speed rail. I'm exactly what was just. It saves the planet. It costs less. There are so many good reasons that it's faster. So many good reasons to have high-speed rail, especially between Vegas and Los Angeles, Dallas and
New Orleans,
Dallas
and Houston.
Yeah, I don't know about New Orleans, but
New
Dallas
Orleans
to Houston, Houston to Austin, it would Great, but the reason I'm just telling you, because I also know the people who have blocked this. One is the landowners, like Ashton said, but the biggest one is the airlines that continue to kill it because they make so much money with those short regional flights.
Yeah, and that's why y'all need to vote correctly. Because these things are just simple things that could have been done. Like, we literally have New York, DC, and Chicago as examples of how New York is the best example, like how a city can be walkable, it can be efficient, and it can stay relevant for years and years and years if you just do the right thing. And that's a rickety ass, old ass train station. If y'all build something state of the art, like in a place like Texas, or even Atlanta that is experiencing exponential growth, yeah, I just think people are stupid, and I'm irritated.
Yeah, we did in growth. I mean, we need high-speed rail here. The Super Bowl and some of those commissions that came out here said, hey, we need better public transportation to move people. Even the World Cup Commission mentioned it. That's why we kind of lost a bid to get some of the main, we got some of them, but we don't have the transit that is needed. And so that's why we haven't really had another Super Bowl here. The commissions and all of that absolutely want better transportation, and we just got to get it and make the investment. Are we going to lose money because of that? No, we still got a portion of the cup, but other sports, we need to be able to bring in better sports and things like that, better entertainment, those kinds of things, and be able to move the people that we need. And trains and buses and all of that combined will be able to do that. You can't just build your way out by highways and all of that. The traffic in Houston is horrible, so I don't know. Highways aren't going to work.
So the other thing about that is, to Trent's point about the airline, now that they've totally fucked up the FAA, I think people are going to demand rail transportation because flying is going to become less safe, and they're going to see a serious depreciation in revenue. So let Starlink take over the FAA, and that'll speed up high-speed.
Northeast corridor is what's up though, because you best believe I could take a train, bring my ass right down to Grand Central, and catch a train right to Florida, catch an Amtrak right to fucking Florida.
And how many people would that employ just to build that train? How many people would that employ just to build that train?
A whole bunch of people.
For years.
Yeah. From Texas to like all throughout Texas, you have like a major linkage, and then you have the even little smaller companies that you have the major Amtrak that runs through the major cities in Texas, and you have the smaller subsidiaries that run off of the Amtrak system in Texas to the smaller outskirts of the major cities and stuff like that. Yeah, that's a lot of jobs. That revenue money for the state of Texas. They stupid, but they just don't want to do stuff like that. They don't.
But even niggas, they feel like us.
calming effect type narratives that are being spun out by the same people who are doing investigations, and mind you, that have been there only 5 or 6 months, and trying to take down a multiple decades long corruption scheme department. And so I would say that, like, there may not be a physical list. I don't know that has any bearing on any investigations that are going on. Like, I don't think we can equate the two, and I think we're being emotional if we equate the two.
No, go ahead. Is True on stage with her hand up?
Hey, it's me. I just have a quick question. I'm not seeing a source. Like, I've seen Axios put it out, but I'm not seeing a source of where they got it from. It's not on DOJ, it's not on Bondi, it's not on Bongino, it's not on Cash. So where are they getting it from? Is this the American Party. So they're riling up the Republicans to attack. So my thing is, I'm not saying
I'm gonna read the source to you. The quote-unquote President Trump's Justice Department and FBI have concluded they have no evidence that the convicted sex offender and disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein blackmailed powerful figures, kept a client list, or was murdered, according to a memo from the Justice Department detailing the findings obtained by Axios. A memo was sent to Axios from the Justice Department. There's your source.
And the same DOJ that just let P. Diddy walk.
And it's also coinciding with the release of the video. So I would argue that it's probably they were both released at the same time.
but somebody's already said in there it's a 7-second video.
That's just a clip that's going online. That's 11-hour
Except
video.
there is not 11-hour video on the website. I just said
I did too.
scoured the website and I asked for people to fact check that there's at least 100 investigative journalists in this room right now, and it is not on there. Neither is the memo that they sent to
Well, it's hard for me to look into this stuff while I'm hosting the space. So, if anybody can
we're just letting- we're just-
bro, please stop talking over me. That's so annoying. If anybody can find the 11-hour clip, please let me know. Thank you. Go ahead. Probably a mute glitch. So Scott, so what do you feel comfortable sharing with your experience during the phase 1 of the Epstein files? Do you feel comfortable talking about that at all? If you can still hear me, sir. Can anybody hear me?
Yes,
Loud and clear.
he might be away from his mic or something.
Yeah. Alright, sorry. Continue back where you were. I wasn't trying to be a dick, but it is frustrating when you're talking over the host constantly. I shouldn't have to fight with you over the microphone.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. What were you saying, though?
I was saying that there, as far as I can search on the DOJ website and on Bocino and on Cash Patel and on Pam Bobby, anywhere in there, they're saying they got a memo, and I'm wondering if
Have
that
the memo.
was I saw the memo, but have they been able to verify that that memo came through official channels, because that should have been posted on DOJ.
I'm going to try to keep it loud in here because let me make sure he's not this.
So does anybody else think it's kind of interesting on the timing for the DOJ coming out just at this time while Elon has been announcing his America Party and Trump's upset at Elon? Does any
Horrible optics. Horrible fucking optics. It invalidates Elon's statement to people who won't look at it.
is at this
Right?
time?
It is the worst timing you could think. I couldn't think of a worse time that you could do it is the day after that. Like, don't you think that's just horrible fucking optics? Like, it's sabotage. That's how it's like a sabotage effort. That's how bad it is.
It will help the American Party get followers. It is a great undermining of the trust and faith that MAGA has put into this administration, amongst other things that are very concerning. And if there is no clear understanding given, you're just going to see the whole base break apart. This is a very significant thing.
And Jim, you're watching the Lincoln Project
ensure that the review was thorough, the FBI conducted digital searches of its databases, hard drives, and network drives, as well as physical searches of squad areas, locked cabinets, desks, closets, and other areas where responsive material may have been stored. These searches uncovered a significant amount of material, including more than 300 gigabytes of data and physical evidence. The files relating to Epstein include a large volume of images of Epstein, images of videos of victims who are either minors or minors, and over 10,000 downloaded videos and images of illegal child sexual abuse material or other pornography. Teams of agents, analysts, attorneys, and privacy and civil liberty experts comb through the digital and documentary evidence with the aim of providing as much information as possible to the public while simultaneously protecting victims. Much of the material is subject to court-ordered sealing. Only as a fraction of this material would have been aired publicly had Epstein gone to trial. As the seal served only to protect victims, it did not expose any additional third parties to allegations of illegal wrongdoing. Through this review, we found no basis to revisit the disclosure of those materials and will not permit the release of child pornography. This systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. There was also no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions. We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. Right there. They just said it right there. Okay? That's it. They just said they are not going after anybody else. The systematic review revealed no incriminating quote-unquote client list. There was also no credible evidence that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions. We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. There's going to be no accountability out of this. None of the people who were his clients are going to be held accountable. That's saying right there. Let me finish reading, please. Consistent with the prior disclosures, this review confirmed that Epstein harmed over 1,000 victims. 1,000 victims. Each suffered unique trauma. Sensitive information relating to these victims is intertwined throughout the materials. This includes specific details such as victim names, likenesses, physical descriptions, and places of birth, associates, and employment history. Here's our problem. Stop talking. No, dude. Did it happen? Okay, I'm going to finish reading. Okay, you're not going to talk over me while I'm reading. If you don't like it, you can leave. Shit, man. We're consistent with prior disclosure. This review was confirmed that the Epstein harmed over 1,000 people. Skipping that. One of our highest priorities in combating child exploitation and bringing justice to victims. Perpetuating unfounded theories about Epstein served neither of those ends. To that end, while we have labored to provide the public with maximum information regarding Epstein and ensured examination of any evidence in the government's possession, it is to the determination of the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation that no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted. After a thorough investigation, FBI investigators concluded that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City on August 10, 2019. This conclusion is consistent with previous findings, including the August 19, 2019 autopsy findings of the New York City office of the Chief Medical Examiner on November 19th, position of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, in connection with the investigation of federal correctional officers responsible for guarding Epstein and the June 2023 conclusions of the DOJ's office and Inspector General. The conclusion that Epstein died by suicide is further supported by video footage from the common area of the special housing unit, where Epstein was housed at the time of his death. As DOJ's Inspector General explained in 2023, anyone entering or attempting to enter the tier where Epstein's cell was located from the SHU common area would have been captured by this footage. So they're saying they would have had to have passed through this hallway in order to get to the cell. The FBI's independent review of this footage confirmed around 10:40 p.m. on August 9th, 2019, until 6:30 a.m. the next day, nobody entered any of the tiers in the SHU. During this review, the FBI enhanced the relevant footage by increasing its contrast, balancing the color, and improving its sharpness for greater clarity and viewability. The full, raw, enhanced videos are available at the following links, and the links are on the memo. So, if you guys go to that link, I'm sorry, Adrian.
I put it up there, Jessica.
Did you go to that link?
It is 10 hours and 52 minutes.
Okay, so it is the full video.
It is this is the full video, yes. But what's interesting is that there is no mention of this memo nowhere when you search justice.gov, when you do a Google dork and you deep dive, like it's buried. It's not in the video list. It's not up front, so it's only in this memo that you can find the link. I find that interesting.
What I was trying to say, diligent, I wasn't trying to be rude. I was trying to say,
You were interrupted while I was reading.
okay, but like, I understand all the things that you were saying. What I was trying to say was, many of these things, most of these things happen in international waters or overseas. That's probably why they're not prosecutable in the United States, man. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm not saying I'm going to try to run interference or get him off the hook. I'm simply saying that, like, most of the shit's probably not actionable. And this has been my problem with it the entire time.
And it's leaving a bad taste in my mouth, bro. This is horrible.
Sure, I fucking hate it too.
This is, let me just say that this could happen at a worse time. This is a massive blow to the Trump administration coupled with the emergence of the American Party. I can tell you that right now. However you want to describe it, like whatever you want to say, it's not going to change that fact. Em agrees with me.
But diligent, what I'm saying is that strategic in the leaking and the strategic leaking of this stuff and the attempted proposal that, oh, look at how bad the Trump administration is. Like, look what they're doing. This is the only attack vector. And I think that a lot of people are falling for it. And I think that it would be a mistake to do so.
I know the polls are probably going to be the source of information, but it was Axios that released it. I mean, yes, the FBI is a timing, you have to look at it, but Axios will look at the story, so you have to question Axios' timing in line with the American Party. And I think really
They released the video at the same time as the memo. The government released it today.
Yeah, but like Glenn Beck and many people saw this video a month ago or 2 months ago. But this is not news. This
Well, right, so why did Axios then put out the article today and then they treat it like it's breaking? That's what it says.
Because it's Axios.
because it's Axios. That's my point.
Wait, I have a real question. Why is just Len Maxwell in jail if there's no Epstein list?
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be a list. My point is there could be evidence.
Okay,
There
so
doesn't have to be a
why,
list.
so what they're saying right now is there pretty much there is no evidence. He killed himself. That's it. Why is just Len in prison?
And who did she traffic children to? If she
Right.
trafficked children,
Right.
then
You don't-
who did she traffic them?
Right. You don't get a trafficking charge because it has to be from one place to another. Right? That's the charge, right? That's the proper argument that needs to be made. But that's not really the argument that's being
So
settled.
what
in
about
this.
the girls that were saying that they were being trafficked? Is their testimony mean nothing? Like they said they were being trafficked to clientele, not just Epstein. Okay. Where's Virginia Giuffre's dead man switch?
That was my question.
Are the girls all lying? Like we're just gonna say, oh, the girls they must be all lying. We should just believe what the government's saying. I don't know. I'm very skeptical of it. You know, and so we went from believe all women to believe daddy government. Nice.
No. I would just say that, like, I don't have a reason to disbelieve people like Dan Bongino. Like, I don't. I'm sorry. I just don't.
Well, I do now. Trash. Like literally, he sat there and said there was a list. Time after time, he sat there on his show and was like, "Don't you ever let this go! Don't you ever let this go!"
Right.
And this is
sexual assault. This is a slap in the face. Okay, that is coming from a victim. So take that how you will. This is a devastating fucking blow to the American people. I don't like. This is horrible. Like that is. I love it. That's your question. Yeah, that's horrible. Like I don't. Yeah, there's no. I don't think there's any way to spin this. Like just on the face of it, it is fucking awful. Like that's awful.
Seeing P. Diddy walk the other day was really hard as well for those who were, child victims of, horrendous things. I know I was very upset seeing that, and what I can say is it's disgusting when you know that it's James Comey's daughter who was made to be the key prosecutor on the P. Diddy trial, and guess what? She also was made to be a key prosecutor on some of the Epstein accomplices trials as well. Very interesting. And we know that Hillary Clinton was let off by James Comey, her father, and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton was on the flight logs, Epstein's flight logs, okay? Hillary Clinton ran around with P. Diddy and Epstein, all these people. It's how is this not just common sense and blatantly obvious to you guys that there's a problem of organized crime and that this family of organized crime covers for each other and makes deals to cover for each other because they don't want to. Everybody's got so much dirt on each other that they all don't want to go down, and I think that's the only way it can explain what the hell's actually happening.
Call it one crime family, but I think it's a coalition of different crime families that have gotten together and realized, hey, we're all screwed if they actually do, release all this information, so we might as well work together to try to hide it. Because wasn't James Comey the Attorney General of the United States when Diddy was having his Diddy parties, and there's actually commercials on TV about the Diddy party? So to say James Comey has no, what do you call it, being the prosecutor, conflict of interest is absolutely ridiculous on his face when you have P. Diddy operating, having Diddy parties on James Comey's watch as the Attorney General of the United States. She should have recused herself.
Real quick, I'm gonna go to the forensic guy because he was doing it. Yeah, go ahead, the forensic guy. Tell us how you're feeling, man. Sorry this has happened.
I really want to cry because most people, I don't talk about my story to anybody because it's really personal. And being a male, it makes it worse because maybe we don't speak about this with each other or anybody about it. But you have to remember there also were boys involved in the Epstein Island, and I'm one of those survivors.
Wait, so you're saying that you are also a forensic investigator and you're also a boy who was abused by Epstein? Is that what you're saying?
You just said Epstein at the
That would brought me in forensic because
So when you were on Epstein Island,
Wait, what is this? What is this?
yes, when were you, when were you on Epstein Island?
2001.
And how many times were you there? Did you fly on the Lolita Express?
Yes.
Are you named in any court documents?
No, I did not ever come to public with it.
Dude, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not doing this shit.
I just broke. Yeah, sorry, dude. I'm gonna. Can you give me in the DMs if you can provide some evidence to back up that's a big claim. I'm not trying to diminish anything that you're saying. However, that is a massive claim to make. So if you can provide any receipts to back up that claim, I dropped it.
Look, I don't think that it's helpful to be so dismissive initially. Like, we should obviously go, okay, we want. No, I think we should go, okay, we should.
If this was, listen, if this was a primetime television unit, there would be a team of producers vetting everybody who came up there and described themselves as a witness or a crime victim or anything like that, right? So I am not going to platform somebody in front of thousands of people without vetting them. I didn't say that he couldn't come up here. What I said was, just give me in the DMs, provide some references and detailed information so that I can vet the story before I blast it out to the public. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. That is actually my responsibility to do. Right?
Sure, I agree. I'm not saying I disagree.
acts of being victims of prominent individuals like this. And what it does is it diminishes the credibility of the rest of the victims when they do that, and it's not true. So it is our responsibility to vet these people, and without being cruel about it. Okay, I'm not trying to be cruel. You can very well be a victim of somebody, or even Epstein, but it's our responsibility to. The onus is on us to verify. And I am in the mind, don't trust but verify. That's how I operate.
So, Dylan, I have a question. Speaking of verifying, are we running with this story? Is Axios the only one reporting this?
The website with the video is a federal government website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's literally the only verifiable piece. So I don't know if they have that up there and it's supposedly like on a back channel, or if it was supposed to be there, but like the fact that there's no memo posted gives me a little pause. I'm waiting for somebody. Well, it's posted on Axios, not on the DOJ. The video's on the DOJ. That's why I was like, I'm waiting.
Was there any kind of release from the DOJ, or did the video just show up?
The video just showed up.
But didn't Cash say that they were going to be releasing like evidence of their claim that Epstein did kill himself?
Yes, but you would think that would come with Cash or Bongino posting it on their accounts as well, and not
necessarily.
Memo, and not a memo.
I mean, honestly, this doesn't help. Like, this is something like this doesn't really help them in any way, right? Do they really want to make a big stink about this? Like, it's kind of like egg on their face because they've been telling us, this whole time that there's a Epstein client list that everybody, it's so secretive.
True.
Sarah, you got Mike, what's up?
I do. Thank you for letting me on. So I have a little bit of a different perspective in that we're never going to know. Like, y'all realize that, right? Like, we're never going to know. Like, we can talk about this from now until the end of Earth. We're never going to know. This is so deep and so international, and there are, like, legitimate national security concerns with actually releasing this list. We're actually never going to know. Like, this is a carrot that they have been dangling for years, and it's bipartisan, and it's deep, and it's sick, and it's gross, and we are never going to know. And it's something that they just keep dangling in front of us, being like, oh, they're going to release the Epstein list. Like, oh, like, do this, do that, vote for this guy, because we're probably going to, we're never going to know. Like, y'all realize that, right? Like, we're like, it is so deep and so bipartisan, so, like, both sides. Like, this is a very disgusting, like, gross thing that happened in the world. And for the Epstein,
Thousands of kids.
yeah, well, but for the Epstein that we know about, there's another one out there that we don't know about. It's a horrible, disgusting thing that's happening in this world right now that is deep and ingrained, and there's money, and there's politics, and there's, like, we're never going to know. That's why they gave.
We heard you. We heard you.
Yeah, but that's why they gave.
You keep saying it over and over again.
Yeah. Like, so, and I hate to say it, but.
You're saying we should give up on Epstein?
No, not at all. I'm saying that we need to find candidates and politicians that aren't connected to the money. I'm saying burn it all down. Burn it all down. Every single one of them. Republicans, Democrats, and screw this American Party, because Elon's honestly just in it for his own financial benefit. Get back to the grassroots of people that actually, like, care about their communities and care about making a difference, and vote those people into office. If you look and see, like, the highest finance candidate, don't vote for them. Don't vote for that person. Vote for the person that doesn't have any money, that is out there every day knocking doors and talking to people and, like, trying to make a difference. That's the only way we're ever gonna change things. The world is so corrupt. It's so gross, and there's so much.
This isn't on any politicians. This is on.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's completely bipartisan. That's why I'm not sitting here being like, I I'll say it out loud. I'm a Democrat, but I'm too big and too powerful and something that we
Who's they? Who's they?
everyone. Like we're focused.
So the only people that are responsible for the way I feel right now is the Justice Department. That's who's responsible. That's who's responsible for how I feel right now is the Justice Department. I'm going to lay blame where it is appropriate to lay blame. The Justice Department has promised disclosure, right? They gave us phase 1 of an Epstein drop, told us that there were 5 phases, and then just ended it. Okay? That's a fact. That is the current Justice Department. That is not an elected official. But real quick, we just got to do some housekeeping. Welcome, Michael Police, to the stage. Thank you for all that you do. I've been waiting patiently for you to come. Impatiently, actually. I'm kind of tired. I've been like running 10-hour spaces a day for like the last week, and so I'm really exhausted. I'm sorry if I'm short with anybody. It is because I am tired, and I'm not in my not running at 100. Bottom right corner repost space. Thank you very much. Let's go to David. He's been waiting very patient.
Thanks, Children. I know ordinarily you tell me to assert myself, but just a lot of people get information, so I don't want to jump. A couple of things that I want to pick up on a point where I left off. The thing about this Axios report, I was trying to trash this before, because we were talking about the timing, and you mentioned the timing of this, and it's a bad look, and considering the American Party and all this. Again, the DOJ did not release this, so Axios claims to have obtained it from them, but it's the video links on the memo give a link to the official video. But this memo wasn't released, so either it's existed for a while and there's no date on the memo. And so I don't know that the DOJ actually released this. I'm not saying it's not real, I don't know if it's real or not, but it's Axios, and the timing of it is suspicious. So that's important to keep in mind that until the DOJ puts out this memo themselves, we need to question the timing and authenticity of it. And I think that's important, because now that I look further into it, I'm kind of questioning, where they even got it from. And there's only one other source that's reported on this, but they're reporting on the Axios disclosure. They're not reporting on any other source. So Axios is the only source right now of this information on an undated FBI memo that hasn't been released by the FBI. So just putting that out there, that's important to keep in mind.
That's fair. Maybe we're all wrong. If that is the case, then this could very well be an op to hurt Trump because of the timing along with the rise of Elon's party. So I will definitely watch out for that.
Exactly, and that's the first thing. And then the second thing I wanted to say on this, let's go engage in the hypothetical game though about the client files and assuming this is accurate. And again, I don't know that it is.
Apparently the Hill got hacked today too. My co-host tells me.
Yeah, so maybe this isn't real. I don't know. But let's just carry on the conversation since we're having it. It's worth having. And I want to correct something with the Maxwell situation. She was, again, not knowing whether or not this memo was real. Just because the suggestion is that the evidence that they supposedly have doesn't indicate anybody else being targeted or whatever. Maxwell was charged with assisting Epstein. So that's not entirely accurate that nobody else was getting charged on this evidence, and there was other victims.
The clients are not charged.
Right, but maybe that's true, maybe it's not true. So I don't know. But it's
the DOJ declared that okay, if the memo, if the memo's fake, then that's not necessarily.
Exactly, that's the problem I'm having right now. Is I had this whole logical thing prepared to say, but now I don't know if this memo is real. So I'm going to pause there for a second. And
it sure looks real.
Well, sure. I mean, it absolutely does. But now let me say about the timing of the American Party thing. Did you also see? I don't know what's true anymore, and it's so important, diligent, and that's why I really appreciated what you did with that account that came up and suggested they were a victim, because there's so much information that comes out, and it's so hard to vet it all instantaneously. But supposedly,
especially when you're running space.
Exactly when you're running, and you have
And the American Party thing is happening. If you think Elon's just like if he's not actually trying to form an American Party, I think that's very naive.
If there is an FEC file now,
That's fake. That's fake.
Oh, was that fake? Really?
Yeah. But the networking part of it has been happening. The coalition building's happening. All of that's happening. That's front facing. You can see that on Elon's timeline by who he's following and who he's unfollowing. He is unfollowed, and so is his mom in the last week, a mass of Trump and MAGA and Republican people. But they have unfollowed a shit ton of them.
But keep in mind, Trump also levied tariffs on every country before him and said basically, this is the way it's going to be from now on. And he used it for leverage in order to get favorable deals for the United States. Elon's a brilliant businessman, so is Trump. And Trump and Elon know each other very well now. It's all possible that this whole thing is leverage to say, hey, I want more representation in what we're getting here, considering everything I've done. And then maybe Trump comes around and says, you know what, Elon had a good point. We're going to do something in these primaries, which would be great for the Republicans. So I don't know. I think the big takeaway of everything, not just the FBI memo, not just the American Party thing, not just tariffs, not just everything we talk about, is that sometimes what we think is going on maybe isn't going on. There's something more to it, and that's why it's good for us to talk it out and have a lot of fun having the conversations. But man, it's dynamic and it's exciting, and when you have spaces like this with real-time information, we have to kind of see really what's going on. And that's where I'm going to land, because I'm not sure about the FBI memo anymore, so I'm going to shut up.
See, there were other things that's kind of gotten us concerned regarding the Epstein issue, right? Like, we were told one thing from Pam Bondi, and then she flips and says the exact opposite. Same with Cash Patel, same with Dan Bongino, same with these people. And it's like, okay, so why did they say this so confidently before, and then all of a sudden now they're acting like, oh yeah, no, Epstein, he killed himself, and there's no client list, and this isn't something that this memo is alleging. These guys have said it themselves. Like they're pretty much completely doing 180s from the stance that they've had. So I think a lot of us have just been like, we've been concerned, and we have been like, okay, we're still waiting for the Epstein list, but we've been giving the benefit of the doubt, right? Like we've been hoping and praying that they're actually going to do something with this and do the right thing. So I think maybe this document, right, has just pushed people to the point where they're like, okay, it looks like they're not going to do anything. And maybe that's just speeding up us coming to the inevitable realization that they're not going to do anything.
Well, the main takeaway from all of this in my mind is you've got to get documents out into the public. There are many things of interest to the American people, not just the Epstein files that people need to be aware of. That there has to be a massive change in the way that transparency works in our federal government. We have so many things hidden where we still don't even have all the JFK files, for freaking goodness. Like this is stuff that is very, very critical to the American public. This is a free republic that is run by the people, not by the government, and we only put our elected officials in for temporary periods to manage the situation that we put together under the Constitution. They're still accountable fully to us, and we have to keep pushing towards making sure that that effort is undertaken, because if we do not get transparency, then you have a bureaucratic mess that continues, and you have a continual taking away of our freedoms because of the fact that the government operates in a rogue manner against the people. And that reality needs to stay in our minds every single day and in every action we take politically. With that, I got to run. I'm going to bed. Good night.
Good night, brother. Thank you. Sermons put out this post, and it hits hard. There is a chain of command. Please speak, Mike. There is a chain of command on this planet, and elite pedophiles are at the very top, even above Trump, way above. like somebody else would have noticed on the DOJ website, right? So I feel like the link kind of validates the memo more or less. The timing seems meant to hurt Trump. So, with
Or
that
it's to cover up something happening tomorrow. You drop a story like this at night, so then the whole next day, the whole news narrative is going to be that there was no Jeffrey Epstein client list, and none of us are going to be watching what else has happened in the brain.
well, I mean, we're not really. So we're talking about this now. I'm not talking about this tomorrow.
I don't know if Jim mentioned it,
Well,
but
we might be talking about it now, but the vast majority of news agencies are not going to be talking about it until tomorrow.
you know how there's that pizza place at a gay bar near the Pentagon? Breaking news. No, not the pedophile one. The one that, like, when the pizza place near the Pentagon is busier than usual and the gay bar is empty. And people are like, what's going on? Is there a military operation about to happen? So that would go to what you just said. You know, maybe they released this to cover up what's about to happen.
The pizza meter is pretty much like Poly Market, right? If you go and you look at okay, well, we're taking pizza back. They're not allowed to steal God's gift of pizza.
No, I'm
not even Italian.
I didn't even know about that pizza thing. It's like, I got to Twitter and I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, pizza needs metal. And I'm like, dude, you can't fuck with my pizza. Don't fuck with my pizza. Bro, come on.
You had never heard of common pizza before?
Just tell you.
Hey guys, go ahead and share this space. This is by far the best America First X space I've ever seen. There's so many topics here, and on this specific topic, I just want to point out any logical person knows that there's a clan list for however many decades this sex ring or whatnot was running for. And do you guys think that woman, his wife, I guess, do you think she has a debt switch?
Well, she's sitting in a prison right now in Florida, so, I mean, I don't know.
If you had the hand of no one's talking over each other.
Yeah, so tomorrow on the president's agenda is meeting with Bibi Netanyahu. And there's an executive order that's going to be signed in the morning. So he's having a meeting and then a dinner, essentially. And the
themselves with the anti-American policies of BRICS will be charged an additional 10% tariff. So that seems to be in response to the BRICS conference that just took place.
That's what I'm talking about. No mess around here.
So I think it's also
the executive orders that are going to be sent to us.
something that kind of is an overlapping topic since you guys are talking about BB. There was information that was coming out in these cases from some of the witnesses and victims that were essentially pointing to Jeffrey Epstein having Mossad ties. So, like in a 2024 lawsuit, Jane Doe sued Epstein's estate, stating that in her testimony, stating that he boasted about being a Mossad agent in 2001, and same with his, she claimed him and Maxwell hinted at his spy ties. And then there was also statements from a former intelligence officer, Ari Ben Menashe, who claimed to have worked for Israeli intelligence, asserted in 2020 that both Epstein and Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's father, were Mossad agents. And so I find it kind of interesting. Do you think that there's any validity to that? And if that was some kind of a blackmail operation, so go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, no, so Millie, I think that Jeffrey Epstein was a member of multiple intelligence agencies. I think he ran a international blackmail for hire, right? Where he would work with different intelligence agencies all across the world to provide blackmail that he was collecting. Now, did he ultimately work for one? I don't know. But I would say that he at least was like in with a CIA, Five Eyes, Mossad, like they're all like I think blackmail is probably just as important as money today, honestly, how these people operate.
Hey guys, I just asked Grok if there's an actual list, and they said no. I asked for source, and they gave us Justice Department press release date in July 2025. So it looks like Grok is already updating here.
Wait, did you say Department of Justice press release in July 2025? We're running
yeah,
from
and
the Axios article.
This says Justice Department press release dated July 2025, saying no
Does it
incriminating
link to that
claims.
press release?
It says Reuters.com.
Can you try to source? Do you know how to source that? Who is this?
DOJ. Oh, here we go.
Diligence Croc might be better actually.
No, there is no. The last press release at the DOJ was on July 3rd. So it's definitely not.
What is that Reuters article? Can you click through to the Reuters article?
I don't know what Reuters article. I don't see that.
No, whoever was just talking said that.
Yeah, it just says Reuters.com. I would have to ask for the specific link. Let me look into it right now.
Yeah, did you chime in yet? What do you think about all this? Are you there?
Me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Sucks, man. And if we're gonna talk optics, holy shit balls, does this look bad? And just playing at the elementary level, this just looks really, really bad. I'm still trying to figure out how did you get, Ghislaine Maxwell or whatever the hell her name is. How does she go to jail for helping Epstein, but he has no client basis, or they can't cross-reference the Lolita Express because they have to have a flight manifest. Have they not talked to everybody on those manifests? It just seems very, like Elon said, was Trump on the, did he go to the island? Where else am I supposed to go, right? And I understand, but this is a bad look, a really bad look. And I don't know how this actually gets worked through without, like Jim said, there needs to be a whole shitload of documents dumped and explained. But Pam Bondi owns this, and this lays at her feet right now. I understand you about doing
Yeah, that it hasn't been confirmed by the FBI or DOJ. So it's still.
I'm writing the what if, right? The optics of it. If it, let's say it's real, because
It still makes it kind of makes me feel real.
Right.
You know what I mean?
coming out doing a press conference and dropping in the bomb, right? They did it for the lifting the abortion deal. That's the first time it ever came out of Supreme Court 2 weeks early, because ripping the Band-Aid off usually gets people hurt or property damage or pissed off people. So I don't know if that's all. I'm pretty pissed off about this. They're going to need a hell of a lot more information, because we've been writing this shit forever. They made poor Scott Presler go there in his cowboy boots and get a binder and whatnot, and it's just crazy town. And I don't understand how that played into this. And all of it comes down to none of this makes sense. Somebody better start talking real quick, because to me, as it sits where it sits right now, we're talking mad trees and stuff.
Well, Chad, so if they're going to be having press conferences tomorrow, right? Let's just say that Axios, who in the history of being Axios, hasn't been the most upstanding journalistic citizens in the world, would they be forcing Trump to get asked about Epstein in front of the camera tomorrow, standing next to Bibi Netanyahu, if they do think that there is this Mossad angle in front of it to try to embarrass the world leaders as they're signing a historic peace agreement?
I think that's definitely going to come up if there's some validity to this. I mean, Axios has got it out as a restaurant, right? Bottom matter with it, Jennifer, is how we get it. Somebody needs to get, if that is what the goal is, somebody leaves it to Axios and again, we're dealing with people. When they find out that they did in fact leave this to Axios, it's going to have security walking out of buildings and handcuffing their ass. How many times have you seen that already? It's a big problem with DOJ right now. That's where I'm laying this at. Wherever, even if it's a leak or what have you, the DOJ is not fighting the DOJ. I've tried to pick up a pen on it. She's really big hole right now.
Well, yeah, honestly, I think it's time to start asking questions, because after Jeffrey Epstein was prosecuted the first time and he had to do his whole bullshit, house arrest where he could go into the office and work and have girls show up at the office while he was working on house arrest and then go back to jail, that kind of thing. After that point, Jeffrey Epstein was still operating. He still owned property in Palm Beach. He still was flying girls in and out of Palm Beach, Lolita Express. Pam Bondi was the Assistant Attorney General of the state of Florida. And you were telling me in that entire time she couldn't find anything to go in and investigate if she really, really cared. And we're expecting this person who, when she was Assistant Attorney General, she didn't stand up. And I would just like to know how much money she took from the Bush family. I'm just wondering.
But it almost makes you wonder why she was selected for the job that she's in right now.
Hey, can we also?
There is a lot of players and plays at play. That's all I'll say.
Can we also point out that
So, without more context on who she is and what job you're referring to, I'm kind of flying blind here.
Brock, can you tell us the validity of the Epstein memo that was just? Brock, can you tell us the validity of the DOJ supposed Epstein memo that was just released tonight? Scan the web and X for valid sources.
Based on posts found on X and some quick web checks, the DOJ and FBI's joint memo on Jeffrey Epstein, reported tonight, claims there's no credible evidence he blackmailed prominent individuals, had a client list, or was murdered. Axios and other outlets are citing it, but skepticism's running high. Users on X are calling it a convenient shutdown and propaganda, pointing to years of withheld documents like flight logs and contact books. No primary source of the memo itself is public yet, so it's hard to verify its authenticity or full context.
Do a deep dive in an attempt to verify its authenticity.
All right, diving deeper into the DOJ and FBI joint memo on Jeffrey Epstein reported tonight. Based on posts on X and web sources, here's what I've got. The memo, cited by outlets like Axios, claims no credible evidence exists that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals, had a client list, or was murdered. However, several red flags raise doubts about its authenticity. Users on X point out it lacks a date, page numbers, signatures, and consistent formatting, unusual for official DOJ or FBI documents. The seals on the memo are misaligned, and the font looks off, with some
page of the memo yourself and to verify the inconsistencies yourself?
I can't directly access or view images or specific documents like that memo, but based on what's circulating on X and web reports, users have talked about several inconsistencies in the supposed DOJ and FBI joint memo on Jeffrey Epstein.
I'll upload the memo into you, Grok, and then I'll let you analyze it yourself. Let's go to the hands. Go ahead. Wrong button, guys. I find this.
The memo, the link to the memo from the Axios article is gone.
Axios is not a reliable source. Axios writes fake shit all the time, especially in 2020 and in 2016. They are not a reliable source. I would hold off until we get an actual statement from Cash. And right now, Cash has so much egg on his face over this. He needs to come out immediately and either verify the memo or unverify the memo. One of the two. Otherwise, he's done. This is not good for him.
I have the memos, so I will do it anyways. Give me 1 second. One or the other.
No way to, no need to make a choice. Caroline Levitt goes to Twitter and stuff is fake news all the time. I'm sure she's up at 11 o'clock at night. She can
For you perverts thinking, me saying, I'll help you with your tracks, that was dirty.
They caught this to admitting.
I don't think anyone would have thought it was dirty.
People in the comments said they thought it was dirty.
The comments said that it was a sexual move.
Yeah, well, given the topic of the space, I'm going to go down that path.
Well, you could ask Grok if she thinks it was.
So anyways,
in unhinged mode.
Grok,
Anybody that uses this sound, I'll upload the document, and I'll analyze it for authenticity once you've sent it over. I'll check for stuff like formatting, seals, and fonts, based on what I know about standard DOJ and FBI memos. Just let me know when it's ready.
you got it, Grok.
Hey, David, what is the, can I just ask David a question? Okay. David, for Axios, if this was a fake memo that was put out,
Is there any legal on that? Because that's kind of a big thing to put out something under the DOJ like that.
Well, not intentionally. I mean, if somebody gave it to them, they didn't validate the source. There's her credibility, unless they were acting maliciously. I imagine they would be liability, which just hurts her credibility. If you're talking about the libel lawsuit, they would have to have essentially some sense of malice, technically, in order to hurt somebody who was particularly. And the question then would be who was the brief party suit. So I don't know. I don't think so. I'd have to research it more, but I think this would be a credibility issue.
Well, who would they be liable?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't know.
Well, they're saying that this is an official document from the FBI or whoever. Right? And making up an official document and putting it out as a real document, that just seems, at the least fake.
Well, I agree with David. I think they were probably leaks that told. I doubt Axios said, let's create a fake document on Sunday night. And you know what I mean?
maybe they released it on purpose.
Oh, yeah. I'm just saying, I don't think they created it to hurt somebody.
I can't Donald Trump, but
Grok, are you able to analyze this document as the memo from the DOJ and FBI tonight regarding the Epstein case and look for inconsistencies that would refute its authenticity?
Yeah, I can analyze it for authenticity. Based on what you've described, DOJ and FBI memo, Epstein case, released tonight. Here's the breakdown. The document claims a review of over 300 gigabytes of data, confirms Epstein's suicide on August 10, 2019, with video evidence, and says no credible client list or blackmail evidence exists. First off, the lack of an official posting on DOJ or FBI websites is a red flag. Legit memos usually drop there first.
want you to look at the seals a little bit better and see if they are offset or misaligned.
Got it. Focusing on the seals. From what you uploaded, if the DOJ and FBI seals are present, here's the deal. Official government memos have those seals perfectly aligned, usually centered or symmetrically placed at the top or bottom. If they're off, even slightly, like one seal higher than the other or not flush, it's a red flag, as federal agencies are obsessive about precision. Without seeing the image myself, I'm limited, but based on standard DOJ and FBI memo formats, any misalignment, say more than a millimeter or two, or if one seal looks stretched or pixelated compared to the other, screams potential fake. The DOJ seal should have the eagle and shield crisp, while the FBI's has the scales and stars. Both need to match official versions exactly. If you can confirm whether they're uneven or look off in placement, I can zero in further. Can you describe the seal's positions, or if they seem distorted?
They're on the documents that I uploaded to you. Check them out yourself.
All right, reviewing the seals in the document you uploaded. If they're there, I'd expect the DOJ and FBI seals to be perfectly aligned, typically side by side or stacked with equal spacing and crystal clear in resolution. In this case, without visual access to confirm exact placement, I'm working off the description. If the seals are offset, say one's higher or shifted left-right by even a small margin.
Can't see the seals. Okay, that's good. Brock, thank you. So it looks like it sounds like from the formatting and everything else, the lack of the letterhead. I mean, it looks, unless it was like a draft that got leaked in process, it seems fake.
I mean, who changes fonts in the same letter?
What?
Who changes when you're typing something? Why would you even think to change fonts back and forth? I mean, that's just something you would never do.
Unless you were copying and pasting it.
Yeah.
And you didn't realize that it was a different font.
Myron, what's up? Are you going to tell us that Trump's on the Epstein list and that's why it's not happening? Because of the news or something? I don't know. I'm just spitballing. Who's joking? Are you there?
Oh shit, did you, my bad dude, I muted the space for a second, I'm on screen, what did you say?
Oh, you're good. Oh, I was going to tell you, Trump's meeting with Bibi Netanyahu. Do you think that's why this whole thing is blowing over tonight?
Well, look, so before I kind of go into this real quick, because I know there's a lot of people in here that probably don't know who I am. I just work for the government. I was a special agent with Homeland Security Investigation, so I'm very familiar with how the FBI works and a lot of these different agencies. Was AZ for many years. So I'll kind of go through this real quick. We're never going to see the Epstein documents fully, and the reason why is because people need to understand that there's two different sides to this. There's a high side, then there's a criminal side. For the criminal case, I mean, we know that. Ghislaine Maxwell went to trial. All the evidence came out against her. Maureen, I think it was Comey's daughter, prosecuted the case, and she successfully, got her prosecuted. A lot of the evidence in that case was, shown out publicly during the trial. So there's a criminal case, but I do think it's very important for people to understand that there's also a high side. When I say high side, that's a term that's used in the intelligence community to describe things that are, typically classified or, not ever going to see the light of day in a courtroom or public disclosure. And given the nature of who Epstein is, being an asset with the Mossad or Oman or whatever, a lot of people speculate that he's an asset for Israeli intelligence, one of the components. More than likely, there's going to be a CIA file on him. There's going to be obviously an FBI file on him. There's going to be, NSA, DIA, all the intelligence components of the United States government, right? We're talking like 20, 30 different agencies. So, it's not really up to Cash Patel and Bongino to declassify everything on Epstein because there's going to be multiple agencies that have documents on him that are classified. And the way that the government works is that it's extremely bureaucratic. So in other words, let's say I have a document that's a CIA document, right? And I work for the FBI. Well, if I want to go ahead and share that information or get it declassified, I need permission from the highest authorities over at the CIA to even share it with another agency with a clearance. So declassifying it is a whole other, can of worms. So again, the reason why we're not going to see these documents, at least the real stuff that we're actually looking for, the stuff that has to do with him being a spy or being an asset or whatever, is because more than likely all that stuff is classified and multiple agencies have bits and pieces of the puzzle. The FBI just has some of the stuff, but they're not going to have everything. And the other reason why we're not going to see it is because a lot of people are probably alive. I mean, look at the Kennedy file. It took us decades to get that, and damn near everybody's dead. And we still don't have everybody for it. So I'd be shocked if we actually got what we're looking for when it comes to the Epstein stuff, because multiple agencies are going to have a piece of it. People are still alive, and I'd be shocked if they actually release anything to do with Epstein that would implicate Israeli intelligence, given the fact that they make the argument that anti-Semitism is on the rise. People are starting to question our alliance with Israel. So releasing those files right now would probably be the worst thing you can fucking do. So I'd be sure that kind of came into play as well with the declassification of the documents. Obviously, Pam Body's a retard and made this promise early when she got in as Attorney General, like, yeah, we're going to declassify all this stuff, not knowing what was going to probably be in there, or just making false promises, wanting to get on Fox News and talk. But the reality is, I'm going to be very blunt with you guys. From my experience, the old classified documents, we're not going to see those for at least 50 years. 9/11 too. Not going to see those on it.
What do you think about the video that was released tonight? There's a video, it's up in the Jumbotron, of the doorway to Epstein's cell. That it goes from supposedly from the time he went in until the morning time, and it shows no one going through. So it's supposed to be proof of his suicide. What do you think about that? There's a clip of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know a lot of people like to harp on how he died, or whether he was killed or not. I think I'm more interested in what he was doing when he was actually alive than who he was working for. I think the death thing is a little bit of a deflection. And keep in mind, that comes from the Bureau of Prisons, or the department. It's going to come from the DOJ, basically. So, that's what they catch him. It's like, oh, look, he killed himself, or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, I don't think that's the most important thing. I think it's obviously, a component. But I'm more interested in what he did when he was actually alive, who he worked for, what he was doing, what he was collecting information for. I do have a good idea of what he was doing. For those that aren't familiar with Epstein, I'll quickly summarize it. Basically, what he was doing was he was compromising people in powerful positions, and he was here to basically collect technology through MIT endowments that he basically forced Bill Gates to be on his path. And nobody really knows how he came into his money. We know that Lex Wexner was his main guy, which, it's always interesting how there was really never an investigation into him. Or John LeBron, who was the guy who basically, John LeBron, I'm mispronouncing his name.
Right.
Right, that was basically a model recruiter, that he was the guy that was responsible for finding the women for Epstein's ring. And he, not only did he get of-age women because Lex Wexner owned Victoria's Secret, basically this is the way the scheme worked. Epstein and his girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, would show up at these parties. And when he would show up, he'd always show up with these hot models that worked for Victoria's Secret. So obviously, if you're the guy that brings women, they're like, oh, who the fuck is this guy, right? And, then they find out, oh, he's this billionaire, he has all this money. Oh, wow, okay, this guy's cool. Okay, social group fast. And then next thing you know, hey, you should come party with me and Ghislaine. We got a jet. Come out, hang out, blah, blah. Come down to West Palm Beach, house in New Mexico, house in New York City, house in France. Obviously, he's going to pass the social group test. He shows up. Next thing you know, there's underage girls there. Because what people don't know is that while he was in West Palm Beach, his main place of operation, he had a bunch of high school girls that were at a local private school nearby that, he would recruit to become masseuses. And I say that word quotes. And, they would give these rub and tugs and masseuse stuff and everything. And these were girls like 14, 15, 16. And what he did was he would pay one like $300-$500 every time she did this. This was back in like 2006, right? Good money for a 15-year-old, right? And then he's like, hey, you have any girls that you know that are the same age? And these girls are like, yeah, sure. And then they recruit their friends. And next thing you know, he has a little ring, like a little masseuse ring. And he would travel with these girls to different places all across the country. That's how the feds were able to kind of come in and take it, as a federal case, because of the interstate transportation of the minors and, facilitate interstate transport. And then on top of that as well, he was doing this for underage girls and bringing people over. But that's how we would basically compromise them. And then once they were compromised, hey, I need you to do me a favor. And like Bill Gates, for example, you would have Bill Gates spend a bunch of money and give money to MIT for their technology program. And what Epstein would do was he'd be overseeing these things, because obviously he's the donor, and he would take that technology and give it back to Israeli intelligence. For anyone that isn't familiar with the way Israeli intelligence works, they're notorious, absolutely notorious for stealing technology information from multiple different countries. It's actually one of like the backbones of their intelligence program. That's why their intelligence program is so good, is because Israelis, a lot of them some of them are Arab, some of them are white, some of them, are Ashkenazi, Sephardic, etc. So what they're able to do with the Mossad is they're able to basically go out to, in all these other countries and steal technology, and you wouldn't know because a lot of Mossad agents don't look like they're Jews or Israeli. They can literally blend in. So this is the backbone of their intelligence program. That's why they're so technically advanced. So this is what one of the things that Epstein did for them. And then back in 2006, he actually did end up finally getting prosecuted for having this ring of young girls. He got a sweetheart deal. He basically got a state case. He was able to go to prison during the day. He was able to go back to his nice lavish house at night. And then I think it was Alex Acosta on that.
That's true. He was able to go there on the actually, he only went on the weekend when he was in Florida.
Yeah. So the thing
he had
is,
his own private wing of the prison.
Yeah. And the FBI out of West Palm Beach was actually investigating him, and they wanted to prosecute him, but
they passed up on the prosecution.
Yeah, it was the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Florida. It was Acosta, and basically he declined the prosecution because he was told that he was intel and hands off. So I mean that in itself obviously is going to raise a lot of red flags. But that's basically how the Epstein ring worked, and the reason, the way he was able to.
Can I ask you a question? I cut you off for a while.
Because I might answer your question here in a second with what I'm going to say. So that's fine. But the other thing too, also that's important, is that people say, well, how did he get around these famous people? Well, he would get invited to these parties because Ghislaine Maxwell would be at the UN talking about the oceans and conserving the ocean, whatever. So what ended up happening is she became a socialite and she was able to meet all these powerful people at the UN.
Why are you having to explain this to us? I think everybody in the States knows how the Epstein Blackwell group works by now.
I'm still
Why are
you are kind of rehashing what a lot of us already know.
Oh, what a dick. Hold on. Okay. Again.
If you want to talk, we tied into what we're talking about tonight with the so-called release.
Yeah, that's fine. But you gotta understand, bro. There's like 2,000 people here. The speaker is cool. You guys get it. But there's thousands of people here that don't know a lot of this information. They might not know the detailed information and not know all the facts and circumstances.
I mean, most of these people are my dedicated audience, and we've covered the Epstein files ad nauseum together in these spaces with thousands of people. I'm just trying to say we're pretty excited.
I understand.
That's why I have a question specifically for you, Myron, about what you said.
Yeah, let him ask you a question, Myron. Let him ask you.
It's literally went up since I've come in here, and then we got this Jennifer Lawrence woman who's speaking like rudely.
Oh, shut the fuck up, Myron.
Hey, you guys are so hold on. Here, so let me just moderate a little bit here, okay? Let's just let Good Logic break it up a little bit. He did try to ask you a question a few minutes ago. I like to break this up because long monologues tend to kill the audience's faces. Good Logic, go ahead. Ask me a question.
The listeners have been going up, but that's fine. We'll let a woman dictate how things go.
Come on, dude. Good Logic, go ahead.
What are you, Hamas or something? Shut the fuck up.
Who the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, like those things. So we're not gonna derail this, start calling names based on ideology. Like this has nothing to do with the topic. Good Logic, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, the question I want to ask you, Myron, most of what you said there are things that I think anyone can follow.
That's me a glitch. This on me is me a glitch. And 3, 2, 1, go for it. Good luck. Seem to be good now. Good luck. You're gonna be listening here.
Now I got it. Okay, now I got it. I'm not gonna hit it. Okay, now I got it. Most of what you said there are things that I think a lot of the audience or anyone who's following the Epstein case is already aware of. I'm very curious about the part you introduced there, which is where you're able to narrow Epstein down to being either Mossad, Israeli, Jewish, or codename Tel Aviv, Haimi. I'm wondering how you managed to do that and exclude CIA, FBI, MI6, or any other agencies which he reportedly had bases to have ties to. And you seem to be you seem to have a lot of information. You're talking as if you're an expert in this area. I'm not questioning your expertise. I'm wondering, did you have direct contact with this? That that he was part of some Israeli intelligence specifically, or is it that you actually just are surmising that it's probably the Jews, and that would just be the best explanation for how he got away with this? And for so the Jews were Svengaliing the entire FBI and Acosta, and that's what was going on here. Maybe I just want you to explain that.
Well, interesting. I like your condescending tone of asking the question, but I'll go ahead and entertain your stupid question, no problem. Here's the thing you got to understand. CIA and Mossad work very closely together. Our foreign policy is pretty much controlled by Israelis and Jews. I mean, if you don't want to concede to that, then you're just a fucking retard at this point, honestly.
So hold on really quick, guys. So I looked it up because I was curious to see if there was something to that, because I had heard people talking about, okay, Epstein
trial. I was at the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. There definitely was reference to the ties. There were definitely references to the ties, potential ties to Mossad. Supposedly, there were also references that were made, because I did a deep dive into this 3 years ago when that trial was going on. There was also other ties related to Robert Maxwell and his potential connection to both MI6 and Mossad, and also CIA. And that's why I was asking Myron how it is that he's so definitively positive that obviously this is American intelligence.
But wait a second. No, this is David, right? This is David who's just speaking.
More closely with Israeli intel. That's why. And Robert Maxwell, by the way, just so you know, was literally involved in putting Mordecai Vanunu in jail for exposing the nuclear program that Israel illegally has. Okay? So that is your connection right there, my friend. He went ahead and told Mossad that Mordecai Vanunu had the pictures, the 50+ pictures of the nuclear program out in Pomona. Okay? And he got put in jail for that. And Robert Maxwell was the fucking guy that did it. So that's your connection right there, and that's Ghislaine Maxwell's dad.
So the one who ratted him out as far as connections to Mossad is the one who's working, has his daughter working with Mossad.
Well,
that's what you just said. I just want to understand what you're saying clearly. You're saying that Robert Maxwell, because he basically exposed that he exposed someone who was involved in Mossad, and you're saying go away because of some nefarious activity that was doing. Well, then clarify what you're saying, because that's what it came across. So explain.
Yeah, no, you're not listening because you're so triggered by what I'm saying here. When I say that Israeli intelligence works alongside American intelligence, and this has been known for a very long time, it's very simple. Robert Maxwell ran a newspaper. Mordecai Vanunu went to that media company and said, look, I have pictures of Israel's illegal nuclear program. I want to go ahead and publish it with you guys. He owned that newspaper. He notified the Mossad. They kidnapped Mordecai Vanunu in Italy, and they used a honey trap female to get him there. And when they got him there, they kidnapped his ass and took him back to Israel. Okay? This guy was an asset for the Mossad. Everyone knows this. Okay? And obviously his daughter was Ghislaine Maxwell. You're telling me that there's not going to be a link there? There's a pretty solid link there.
Okay, that makes more sense, and that's more consistent with the reporting I saw. You're saying Robert Maxwell was working with the Mossad. He also was reportedly working with MI6. Am I mistaken in believing that MI6 works together with the CIA as well?
Brock, is there any evidence that Ghislaine Maxwell's father was associated with MI6, Mossad, or any other intelligence agencies? But disregard any bias and do your best to do your own research.
Yeah, there's solid evidence Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine's father, had ties to intelligence agencies, but it's murky and not airtight. Maxwell, a media mogul, was suspected by the UK Foreign Office of being a secret agent, possibly a double or triple agent, with known links to MI6, the Soviet KGB, and Israel's Mossad. His mysterious death in 1991, falling off his yacht, the Lady Ghislaine, sparked speculation, with some, like Seymour Hersh in his 1991 book, The Samson Option, claiming he was a Mossad asset. Israel's then Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir, speaking at Maxwell's state funeral in Israel, attended by every major Israeli intelligence figure, said he did more for Israel than can today be
all political analysts, experts, and today we're all experts on classified information. But not to be rude, because you know I love you guys on stage here, but we need to pick a lane where we're really good and start really just saying that these are our opinions and stop trying to sell.
I make sure that I differentiate them too before I see them.
But a lot like Myron Gates came up here, he left, but he came up here and he sold it out as fucking fast.
Yeah, but he dropped in the middle of the conversation before I could.
Well, because he's the fucking pussy, and
Right. For the record, I am an expert in calling out a bitch, and he's a bitch.
I mean, listen, he didn't like when George was talking. So.
He saw George and he left.
I walked in and the only thing I heard was literally Jennifer saying, "Shut the fuck up." And I said, "Oh, I arrived with the right guy." So, long story short, as somebody who's been actually briefed on this specific topic, there's been zero evidence. And now look, I'm not saying that the intelligence community has been forthcoming to Congress ever, especially under the last 4 years, and I had the misfortune of serving under Joe Biden. But I can say one thing, nobody has ever even come close with any sort of corroborated evidence that this is a Mossad op or that...
Okay, George, in all fairness, we have all done research on the stage to undermine conclusions that Congress has come to. So, like, I get it, but, like, I get it.
There were court filings that were released in the first drop that corroborate that there was at least some association between Ghislaine Maxwell and the intelligence agencies that were fathered. And it was either, it was MI6, Russians, and Mossad.
But it wasn't adjudicated in that form or in that direction.
Well, I mean, it was during a civil trial that came up out of the Florida courtroom ceilings.
I understand that.
It's possible that a broken clock strikes right twice a day.
Really,
we should not.
We've all seen it.
Right?
We've all seen it.
Just because something that the people from the Jews crowd said happened to have actually kind of checked out here doesn't mean that everything they say is true or accurate.
All the people
we can look at things.
For all the people in the other saying that you've met, and keep Jay up out here, please, MAGA voice. For all the people that are saying that you've met Jeffrey Epstein, okay, I am listening to you. I don't have time to vet you right now while I'm hosting this space, but I'm definitely going to vet you after the space. And so, unless somebody else wants to take over that, we can do it during this space, but it's already getting sort of delayed. I would rather go ahead, Jay.
I was just going to jump in and say hey to everyone. Trying to support your space. I saw Chad in here. I saw somebody else in here. So just don't have a little love. And I appreciate the invite to speak. If you guys are not following the host and co-host, please make sure you do that. Host space, man. Much love. It's a good conversation now, and you can drop me down.
How much should Dylan pay you to say that, Jay? I'll double it for you to trash it.
I hear you. I remember the first time I was gay. But yeah. Make sure you repost the space, follow that. Because they're
You said it so nonchalant.
Come back. I love this. That was so good. That is so good.
Hey, I got something to say. I find it interesting that, anyway, and then George said,
Is that all you know, Myron? How much
Yeah, anyway.
how much is
we got George Santos.
We can't hear all of you at once, okay?
Myron, new material. Like, you need new material.
Bro, you are literally a cocksucking felon. What are you talking about? You are a cocksucking monster. Cocksucking felon fraudster. You are an L. Jennifer Lawrence works for, right?
Listen, much as I need the energy on a Sunday night after I've been awake for like 30 hours during this week,
in a kitchen making a sandwich for
in which you get caught up in, some arguments and whatnot. But I would defend Adam. Like when people say that Adams is talking bad about his own community, I've never really heard that. I think what Adams has said is that he speaks about he believes that there needs to be a different level of accountability and honesty about certain segments of his community, and I don't think he's ever been incorrect about that. I think he's bold enough to do it, and then that offends a lot of people. And I think the people that it offend are people that want you to stay on a particular code. I think that what Adams does is he uses sarcasm, and he uses a performance to bring attention to issues that most people are too uncomfortable to talk about. And by the way, there's a lot of people that agree with Adams on this stuff. They're just not as bold as he is to talk about it.
Well, let me say this. I had no problems with the conversation he was having with Adams, and here's the thing. I was trying to interject because I thought that was changing the title over there out of the room was 100% backing up our argument, Mojo. And I thought that was more important than hearing his bullshit, right, about tone checking people, gatekeep, or whatever he was doing. Listen, I like Adams, and you know what, even though he called me a bitch, I still like the gamer. Maybe he's just having a bad day, I don't know. But I thought it was important to make that announcement because it ties into what we were doing here, not his bullshit.
Yeah, in fact, I think the title of the room does more to illustrate the point that we were trying to make here than anything that anybody said on the stage. The truth of the matter is there, and I'm somebody that believes in free speech. I wouldn't write a letter to Clubhouse and say, hey, can you disallow them to do that? I'm just saying that I don't want that in my space. And then Sarah, who's somebody that frequents this space, this is how it all began, was me reaching out to her and just telling her it was a bad look. And rather than her, acknowledging that, yeah, you're probably right, it's a bad look, what she did was double down and said that she thought it was funny. And so that's how her and I, argument became public, was that I tried, like some people said, hey, why does this have to be content? I tried addressing this privately. She was the one that brought it into the public. I sent her a private message, which, if she were here to consent, I would read it to you or post it for you. It was just simply telling her that I thought it was a bad look. And again, she's free to do it. I'm not going to, say otherwise, but I think that intentionality matters, and creating allows for that. I think shows an intention of something that I don't want to be a part of. And so I look at, if you think about it, that space now has Pepe as a moderator. So they went from allowing Pepe to say it to saying, hey, we want Pepe to lead the charge here. So if you want to think of this as battle lines being drawn, you have a mature conversation happening in one room, and you have people that